I myself, why are you afraid? Handle me and see, for a spirit has no flesh and bones, as you see me have. So he notices that the disciples are frightened, and he apprehends that, and he goes, behold, it is I myself, it is me, what are you scared of? Handle me and see, check me. For a spirit means any spirit. A spirit has no flesh and bones, as you see me have. So when he says a spirit has no flesh and bones, and that he has flesh and bones, what is he trying to say? That is he a spirit or is he not a spirit?
He's saying he's not a spirit.
He's not a spirit,
okay,
right?
But the question
That's
is,
what the Muslims will be saying.
Yeah, okay, but the question is, why did his disciples expect him not to be alive?
Right.
Because they had seen him die.
No, they haven't seen him die. They have heard from hearsay.
Thank you.
All their close friends saw him die.
That's what I say. They have heard from hearsay that the Master's been crucified. Hearsay, because, like I said, Mark tells us all his disciples forsook him and fled.
Yes, but all 12, all 70, all 100.
We are talking about the disciples that were in that upper room.
No, his mom a disciple.
Right, okay. Who was there at the time of the crucifixion?
Well, there's various accounts, of course, but his mom was there, and her sister apparently, and Mary of Magdalene. And the disciple that he loved.
Who went to the tomb where he was supposed to be kept on the Sunday? Who went there?
First Mary.
So she was someone who was there, who was an eyewitness, yeah? Okay, when she saw Jesus and recognized him, why was she not frightened as the disciples were?
First when she saw him.
Yeah. Why was she not frightened as the disciples were?
First when she saw him.
Yeah.
She thought he was the gardener. She didn't expect him there.
Okay. That begs another question.
Yeah.
Do resurrected people look like gardeners?
Well,
why did she say she assumed he was a gardener?
No. They had seen him die. That's why they didn't expect him back. So there must have been somebody in the garden early in the morning. Who's in the garden early in the morning? Probably the gardener. So you can understand that she didn't expect Jesus, but
she did end up going on to recognize it was Jesus.
Yes.
So it was Jesus who was speaking to her, and she assumed he was the gardener. My question again is, why would she assume he's a gardener? Do resurrected people look like gardeners? Unless from the scripture we understand that he was under disguise.
No, if you have seen somebody very close and dear to you dies, it's obviously that he was close to them and dear to her. She's seen him die. She wouldn't expect him in a garden a few days later. Honestly not. Obviously she was grieving. So when you're grieving, you don't see clearly, or you don't, totally unexpected, Jesus was there.
She had a discussion with him. Right? I mean, that's
That's
a nice.
I'm explaining to you.
Can I just the verse themselves? You see, when she goes there, she says she's looking to take him away. She is standing there because things aren't the way she thought they were supposed to be, because the stone has moved and he's not there. So she stood there, she was crying. As you said, you aren't thinking straight. There's a person at the back observing this, and he says, "Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? Why are you weeping? Who are you seeking?" She turns, and she, supposing him to be the gardener, says to him, "Please tell us where you have laid him, so that I may take him away." Now, logically speaking, if it was a dead body she was after, how on her own she was going to lift and take away is a question that needs to be asked. But what did she mean when she said, "Where have you laid him, so I may take him away"? Up to this stage, she doesn't recognize this person to be Jesus Christ. He then says to her, "Mary." As soon as he pronounced it, you know how it is when your wife says Mary. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean you, Mary. When we recognize each other's voices,
a certain way of saying it.
a certain way of saying it. The way he said it, its intonation, gave the clue to her that this is himself, Jesus. And she says, Master, Rabboni. Yeah. Now, interestingly, another issue arises because there she goes to grab him, and he says, "Touch me not, for I have not yet ascended unto my Father." What did he mean by that? Yeah. So, from what you are saying, if he wasn't spirit, you are talking about in the upper room. Yeah. If he wasn't spirit, what was he?
Well, if he wasn't spirit,
Yeah.
he was a bodily resurrection. He
Okay.
was a person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was resurrected.
Yeah.
If he was a bodily person, he can't have walked through the walls.
Well, obviously, I would think there's a good question as to how can somebody
Yes.
with a body walk through a wall,
Yeah.
or just turn up,
Yeah.
or not be recognized.
Now, is
No,
there?
no, no, let
Sorry,
me finish my
I do
sentence.
apologize. Yeah. Sure.
I would think a resurrected body is different from the bodies we have now.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's obvious. Through this account of Jesus being the first that was resurrected, that his body is different from what we have now.
How do we know that?
Through the stories in the Bible, we know this. He was the first one. This
No.
happened
How
to.
do we know that the bodies are different?
You can read the Bible.
I know.
that's
you
what
are
we find.
making the suggestion. I'm just asking why, because
only
I don't see
evidence-
any evidence that
the only-
suggests that they are different.
The only evidence I have,
Yeah.
or the only reliable
Yes.
stories
Yes.
I have about it,
Yes.
are from the Gospels.
Okay.
So that's where I would send you if
Right.
you want more.
What does
detail.
it say in the Gospels? How are they different? You see, because you know when
You've already mentioned a few things.
Yeah.
Like how could a body walk through a wall?
yes.
Or how can he suddenly appear?
Yeah, suddenly.
Things like
yeah,
this.
but now the problem is this, that when the thing he quoted here, he said, when he walked in and said shalom, they were terrified and affrighted because they supposed that they had seen a spirit.
Yeah.
They thought they are seeing a spirit. Now, oddly enough, as he was saying, they detect that he detects that they are afraid. Yeah?
Yeah,
So
which is-
he says to them, he says, what are you fearing?
Yeah, but the interesting thing is
Yeah.
that they were afraid and expected a spirit. They didn't expect him to come back.
Now,
You see, because
yes.
they'd seen him die. So when they saw somebody looking like him, they thought, this is impossible, the guy died.
Now, suppose we take a slight detour on this one. We have got this narrative where it says, he came in front of them and they were terrified.
Yeah.
Because they thought they were seeing a spirit.
Yeah.
They didn't expect him to come normal. Why? Because although you are saying that they were witness to his death, they weren't actually a witness to his death. But let's assume for the purpose of the discussion that is what had happened. He says to them, he says, why are you afraid?
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah? And then if you look at the construction of the sentences, it makes you realize that he is coming to realize why they are afraid. And then he says to them, handle me and see. For a spirit has no flesh and bones as you see me have. Now, if this is what he said, a spirit has no flesh and bones as you see me have, we now have to ask this question about whether a resurrected body has flesh and bones.
Yeah.
Well, he's just said no, they don't.
No,
because
no.
a spirit has no flesh and
the
bones.
spirit is not a resurrected body. Obviously.
It's not.
No.
Well, I would beg to differ because the Bible actually says it is.
Really?
In 1 Corinthians 15:44. That's what it says. If it is sown a physical body, it is resurrected a spiritual body.
A spiritual body is not a spirit.
So what is it?
A spiritual body is a body.
And what is a spirit?
A spirit is a spirit.
Okay, if a spirit is a...
Okay, very clear. What I see of you is a body, and what I see of most people is a body.
We hope.
No, when you get
Yeah.
to know somebody, you
Yeah.
realize it's not. We're not animals. There is more to us. There is a spirit
Okay.
in there as well, or a soul.
Okay.
Or it's hard to separate.
Okay.
God is spirit. There is no body.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between spirit and body.
Yeah.
Now, when Corinthians talks about the body, it's talking about a body.
Which body?
Spirit.
Which body?
A spiritual body is a body made of filled with the spirit.
The spiritual body is filled with the spirit. What about the spirit itself?
To explain a scripture from Corinthians,
Yeah.
I would like to actually
Study.
read it.
Yeah. No problem. No
so it's
problem.
hard to
Of
just
course,
pluck
I
it.
understand. But I would say on
Why
both.
did you bring that up? Did you think body and spirit is the same thing?
No. Because
Are you mixing
in
it up?
John 4:24 it does say God is spirit, and they that worship Him must worship Him in spirit and truth. Not a problem.
That's what we do.
But we are trying to identify whether this body that He walked in with was a normal body or a resurrected spiritual body, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Now, the evidence that we are just using currently is actually stating He Himself saying, what you are seeing of me, handle me and see, for a spirit has no flesh and bones as you see me have.
Yes.
He is confirming for them, look, don't worry. Yes, I am not any spirit. I am me. For a spirit has no. Now, whatever spirit you define,
So-
He is confirming that that spirit will not have flesh and bones.
No,
So
okay.
why did He have flesh and
But
bones?
He is showing who He is. He is Jesus,
Yeah.
and He is a body.
Yes. And is it possible that He is Jesus, a body that did not die?
Well, if He had not died,
Yes.
they would not have expected a spirit. They were afraid because they had seen Him die.
No. Is there a possibility? I can see the reasoning, but let's look at the other reasoning. Is it possible that they were terrified because they had heard He had died?
They had heard or they had seen from very close. It wasn't
Right.
It
But
wasn't.
the-
Wait a minute.
Yes, sorry.
It wasn't the other side of the planet. It was very close in the same city. They had seen, or close friends had seen Him die, and
Well-
they not only had they seen Him die,
Yeah.
they knew that He knew that they had abandoned Him. His closest friends had abandoned Him. So there was a fear of
Yeah.
the authority that He would
Yes.
carry in terms of vengeance, because they had
Yeah.
not lived up to their words. They said, like Peter had said,
Yeah.
I will never leave you.
Yeah.
He done it.
Yes. No, I agree with your
So
reasoning.
they felt
Yes.
guilty,
Yeah.
and they were fearful, and they didn't expect Him there.
Yeah, no problem. I can agree with that. But if we were to take what the evidence actually says, apart from what we want to build in terms of a
No,
story.
This is the evidence.
No, I'm
obvious.
Okay, let's have a
Yeah?
look.
I'm not making it up.
No,
This
of
is
course,
what
I'm
it
not
is.
accusing you of that.
Okay.
Look, at Mark 14:50, we are told they all forsook Him and fled.
Yeah.
The words used there are they all forsook Him and fled. Who forsook Him and fled?
I would need to read it. But I think
It's in
it
the
was
Gospel
his
of
12
Mark chapter 14.
I think about His 12 disciples that
Who-
forsook Him and fled.
Okay, let's
Yeah?
let's assume there are 12. Now, in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 24 verse 60 onward, we are told that they saw the Mary and the other two ladies and one man, the beloved disciple.
Yeah.
From afar off, they saw the crucifixion. Now, these are the words I'm employing that are in the Bible itself.
Yeah.
So, if I were to say, I saw Him from afar off, what does that mean?
That you saw Him
From how far?
from afar. I don't know.
What is far? Is it possible? Now, here is what I was saying. The possibilities we have to look at, not only one. Is it possible that He did come back? He did show them His hands. Because the possibility is He did not die. Now, I just take it a bit further, and I
Okay.
would say this.
No,
if I can
say-
just finish.
If you say He did, the possibility He did not die,
Yeah.
that possibility has only been suggested 600 years later. The Jews, the Christians, the pagans all believed Jesus had died.
I don't
Okay,
have a problem
only
with that.
the Christians believed He rose as well.
I don't have a problem with that, but brother, don't you think that if a particular issue had never been questioned for 1,000 years, and 1,000 years after somebody questions it, its validity can be proven by the evidence, is it not?
No, it's a bit late to come with new evidence after 600 years.
Why?
Because there's no evidence anymore.
But here is evidence that I am
600 years
reassessing for you. Here is evidence, the very same evidence which I'm reassessing. Now, it doesn't mean I'm coming to a definitive conclusion. All
so
I'm
you
saying
question-
is it possible you'll consider it?
No, you cannot consider that Jesus died because you believe the later evidence, 600 years later.
No, I'm not looking at it that way. What I am saying is, look, the possibility is, just like you said, the possibility is that he died, I'm saying the possibility is that he did not die. So what are we going to have to do to come to a reasonable conclusion? Look at the evidence.
Look at the evidence.
I am suggesting the evidence itself is clearly using terminology which clearly shows a person who is alive, not dead. Now, we will play on the words like what does it mean by spirit, what is a spiritual body, if I can just finish.
The evidence is, I don't understand that. The evidence is clearly that Jesus died.
The evidence is showing from what I'm reading,
If you
it's
look
not
at
as
the
straightforward as that.
Okay.
So, if I am saying, for example, when he said, handle me and see, for a spirit has no flesh and bones, as you see me have. Okay? If I were to have the verse in Matthew 26, verse 36, commonly used, okay? He says, Father, take this cup away from me, nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. Yeah. Who is he asking?
The Father.
What is he asking for?
We understand that is to take the suffering away from him.
You understand that? What is the evidence saying?
Huh?
What is the evidence saying?
Yeah, but you can read the evidence. I don't know what you mean.
I'll tell you. It says,
can read it, and he says, Father, take this cup away from me.
Which cup?
The cup meaning the suffering and death that is going to follow.
Death?
Yes.
Whose death?
His death.
Okay. So is he asking to be saved from death?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did God answer his prayer?
So, because it is obvious that Jews wanted to kill him, and they had made a plot to kill him.
And God could save him?
Time. And God could save him, yes.
The question we are asking is, did he save him?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I were to take it further and ask you...
Okay, so the evidence is, did Jesus die
well,
or not?
The evidence,
because,
yes.
No, you've been talking about how the resurrection body, how his resurrected body looked like.
Well,
but can we focus on, did he die on the cross or not?
Because my submission would be that if we were to establish definitively that he did not die, then all this about the spiritual body is of no consequence, logically speaking. Yeah. So if I look at this in Matthew 26, when he said, Father, take this cup away from me, nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. Now, I'm sure me and you will agree that every prophet of God, a righteous one, always submitted his will to God. Yeah. Jesus was no different. He did that. He said, look, I want this situation to be removed from me, but not the way I want, the way it's your will. Yeah. Okay, my question then is this. Wait a minute, he's asked to be saved from death. Did God hear his prayer?
Well,
now,
no, you do have to ask, what was God's will? Did God will him to die, or did God will him to live?
And that question can be answered if we see whether he died or not.
No, well, I think if you say, was it God's plan for Jesus to die like this, or not?
Now, here we are. That's a different matter.
No,
I'll tell you why, if I can. The evidence first will determine what you think is the plan. You are going the other way. You are having a plan and then trying to fit the evidence to fit the plan. No. Okay, so I would suggest this. If it says that in Matthew, Father, take this cup away from me. I'm asking you now, when Jesus Christ asked the Father for anything, was there any instance where it was refused?
The question should be, what is God's plan? The plan was for the Messiah to suffer and die.
Okay.
Okay, that was the plan. And when Peter tried to stop Jesus going to Jerusalem because he was going to face difficulties for sure, Jesus said, I have to go. That is the plan. For this reason I have come into the world. He needed to die.
Okay. That doesn't make sense.
So that, well, maybe it doesn't make sense.
No,
that's fine. That
remember we discussed the Old Testament. We discussed the Old Testament.
It's fine if it doesn't make sense. But
right, okay, let's carry on.
And that was God's plan.
Right, okay.
And the Jews at the time didn't know that was God's plan.
Right. No problem, brother. But if that was God's plan, then the evidence should support that, shouldn't it?
What is the evidence that Jesus didn't die?
I was just about to go to that. Thank you for that question. It's more reasonable.
You're saying he didn't die.
Yeah. You see, like I said, if you look at the evidence the way it is, yeah? So I just asked the question, if Jesus Christ asked God for something, was there any instance in Matthew, Mark, Luke and John where God refused his request? I would
request. He just said that he would take the cup from him, but may your will be done. He asked for,
Absolutely.
He didn't ask, please do it.
No, you are absolutely right. What did he say? He said, Father, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. Now, what I did say earlier on, I said, look, every righteous prophet of God will always submit his will to God. So what he did was actually normal for a prophet of God. What I am saying is there any other evidence which shows that God would refuse a request from Jesus? So, as an example, the book of Acts chapter 2 verse 22, we are told there, Hear, O Israel, Jesus Christ, a man approved of God by miracle, wonders and signs which God did through him, as you already know. Now, what are they saying there? That Jesus Christ was a man. He did a lot of things which were unbelievable, but who did them? God did them through him. Now, I'm asking the brother, look, there is evidence in the Bible where it clearly confirms that whatever Jesus asked for from God, God answered. And that is found in John 11, chapter 11, verse 41. The instance there is, his disciple who dies.
And what,
Who? Nazareth, excuse me? Lazarus.
What do you think about Isaiah 53?
Can I just come to that in 2 minutes? Yeah, no problem. Yeah? You see, in John chapter 11, verse 41, it talks about Lazarus. Christ comes because they are saying to him, look, he's been dead for 3 days. Yeah? There will be a stench coming out. Yeah? Jesus Christ tells them, if you had a grain of, conviction in the Creator, you would see many great things. But he said then, according to the narrative, he said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. What did he ask? When he says that in John chapter 11 verse 41, he says, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. What did he request? Now, if you take in conjunction with Acts 2:22, yes, with 2:22, it's clear that he asked permission from God to bring Lazarus back from the dead. Now, the verse is very important in the next segment. Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me. I know that you always hear me. Now, in English, what does the word always mean?
Yeah, but
Always.
When Jesus said that the will of God,
yes,
done,
yeah.
the will of God was that Jesus was crucified.
Okay, now,
So he asked that his will
yeah,
be done.
but that is based on Isaiah 53,
That's what we have
amongst
to,
others.
Yeah, okay.
Let's go to Isaiah
That's what
53.
we have to look at. What
Yeah.
is the will of God? Because it was obvious that Jesus had various opportunities to escape the cross. He didn't have to go to Jerusalem. He didn't have to proclaim he didn't have to do what he did. But the whole plan of his life was to be crucified and to suffer and to die.
Right.
And that was the will of God for him.
Yeah.
To suffer and die like that. So I would say the will of God, he submitted to the will of God. The will of God was that it would carry on
Okay.
as planned.
No problem. I don't have a problem with that, brother. But there's one vital element you have missed.
Right?
You yourself are saying that was the plan of God.
For him.
I would say that the evidence is showing that the plan was God to take him right up to there and still save him. Would you have a problem with that?
Sorry, the plan of God was?
The plan of God was he will be taken because he has asked the Creator to take control of the situation. Yeah? The situation was this, that he did not want to die. He is asking God, save me from this cup. I am saying to you, look, if you look at the plan of God, I am saying I agree. The plan of God was to take him up to there and save him. Now, if you take it, to what you were saying, to Isaiah 53 as one, many a time I ask my Christian friends, you see, Isaiah 53 is supposed to describe this suffering servant. Yeah? It is, yes? But you will notice that none of my Christian friends who read this ever have come across verse 10, 11 and 12.
Yeah, we just read it.
Did you?
Yeah, we just read
Yeah?
it.
Good. What does it say?
I'll find it back. Just a second.
Find it. Yeah?
We just read the whole of.
Isaiah 53.
You have
Great.
to start in 52.
Yeah.
It starts about the suffering.
That's
servant.
fine. That's fine. Oh, excellent. Even better. Oh, thank you.
The Messiah? Yes, it was.
Oh, it's it.
Is this Isaiah
I think
53?
53.
Okay.
This whole thing?
The whole thing is
Here. Oh, right. Okay.
Shall I read it out?
Yeah, please.
Okay. But with the Bible, you can't just take one verse.
Yeah.
Can I
You
keep
have
this?
to
Is this yours? Can I
Yeah,
keep
but
it?
you can have
Thank
it.
you very much.
you have to read the whole bit. So
No, you
so-
should read it from Genesis to Revelation.
Well,
I say.
we'll be here for a few weeks. Anyway, I just read one bit, but you have to read
sure,
what's
sure.
before.
Okay,
and
no,
behind as well,
understandable.
Because it's about the suffering. servant, yeah?
Understandable.
Okay, from 10, yeah? Yet it was the will of the Lord to crush him. He has put him to grief. When his soul makes an offering for guilt, he shall see his offspring. He shall prolong his days. The will of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Out of the anguish of his soul he shall see and be satisfied. By his knowledge shall the righteous one, my servant, make many to be counted righteous. And he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore I will divide him a portion with many, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong.
Yeah.
Because he poured out his soul to death, and was numbered with the transgressors.
Right.
Yet he bore the sin of many, and makes intercession for the transgressors.
Right. Now, verse 10, 11, and 12. If you noticed, it says, he shall see his offspring, and he shall prolong his days.
Yes.
Now, what does offspring mean in the Bible?
The next generation.
Children? Whose children is it talking about?
Us.
Yours. But it's talking about one individual suffering
Yeah, the
servant.
children.
The children, that's
No,
us,
no.
that's you.
Read it again. I'll read it. So
Okay,
you've got
well,
it here.
Yeah, okay.
It says-
his offspring are all who believe in him.
Now,
That's his offspring.
now, that's
Okay.
your belief. What
No,
does the
that's
evidence
that's
say? I just say,
Discussed it
yeah,
already.
great stuff, good.
That was preparation.
Yeah, you see, he will see his offspring and prolong his days. Whose days?
His own days.
Whose days is it talking? Jesus. Well, if he's talking about Jesus, then who is he talking about before that? Now, not only that, I would
See,
suggest.
No, it's the Messiah. We didn't know it's Isaiah, so he's talking about the Messiah that is to come, 500 years before.
Great.
So
Yes.
now we know his name, Jesus. Okay.
No, we don't know his name.
Yeah, well,
We don't know his name.
I would say his name is Joshua. Okay.
No, it's not even
Anyway.
that. There's no
Well,
name
hold on,
mentioned
hold
in the
on.
Bible.
So Isaiah predicts
Yeah.
this Jesus or this Messiah
Yes.
shall see his offspring,
Yes.
and this Messiah shall prolong his days.
What does that mean?
He will live again. He arose. He's alive.
Now, you see, I can see clearly, and I appreciate the interpretation there. But if we are to take the Bible's evidence as a whole, I would suggest this to you, that in the Old Testament, when God made it very clear that, look, if you commit sin, you are going to die. Yeah? That's what the Old Testament says. The soul that sins, it shall die.
Okay.
Okay? If I can just
but
finish,
then you
brother.
are filling in. Why did Jesus die? Just for sin? No, Jesus died because he was the Messiah.
No, before you go there, that's a different issue now. The evidence is actually separate from what you are saying. What I am saying is, if you look at the evidence itself, it is guaranteed giving you a very, very different picture. And I'm only picking on a few things here. There are quite a few more. So what I am saying is, look, if I were to tell you, sister, that God has a plan, the plan is to forgive everybody. Yeah? He says to me in the Old Testament, if I were to commit sin, yeah, I will die. The soul that sins, it shall die. But now it takes a turn which is odd, because it goes against what our Christian friends actually think. Yeah? It says, the Father shall not bear the iniquities of the Son shall not bear the iniquities of the Father.
I think so.
The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. Now the next verses are vital because it says there, it says, nevertheless, the one who turns away from sin, he shall surely live, he will not die. What does that mean? It is obvious, isn't it? If it says the soul that sins shall not die, it's not talking a literal death, is it? Because the way the verses at the bottom say, if you turn away from sin, you shall surely live, you will not die. It's not a physical death it's talking about, guaranteed. So the question is, if God in the Old Testament has set a precedent that forgiveness can be given by asking for forgiveness from God, who changed it? I would suggest humans have changed it. How have they changed it? In the book of Ecclesiastes,
Well,
I'm looking at the evidence, brother.
No, you're on a sidetrack.
Not at all.
The reason you're talking about the reason why did Jesus die? Did he die just to forgive sin?
No, brother.
Say,
the question was not why did he die. We said,
died.
did he die?
Yeah, no. I would say he died to conquer sin, to have the victory. He has.
Okay.
The Messiah means he's the king. He's the authority. His authority is higher than whatever sin you may be stuck in.
Okay.
Because he is actually in charge. He's conquered even death. So he has authority.
Yeah.
That's what Messiah means. Because Jesus is the Messiah. He's not just the forgiver of sins. He's also the king. He establishes a kingdom.
Yeah,
So
no problem.
that means you accept his kingship, you will obey his commandments.
Yeah. Brother, I have no
That's
problem
his
with,
authority.
sorry.
And that's
Sorry,
why
sister.
he died.
Yeah, I'm just-
So that is why he died. If you focus only on the forgiveness of sin, you miss most of what he did. It's a good point, but it's
Yeah,
not everything. So you
I
gotta
agree. It's not
see the
everything.
big
It's
picture first, and then you
absolutely.
fill it in.
Now you see, I agree with you totally. But what I am saying to you, brother, is look, you are preceding your belief instead of the evidence preceding the belief. That's what I'm suggesting to you. You see, because the evidence is giving us a completely different picture. As an example, Ezekiel 18:20 is what I was quoting from. Yeah, it's telling you that if you ask for forgiveness from God, He will forgive you. Okay. Now you are saying that's not the reason only He came. He was the Messiah. The word Messiah only means the anointed one.
Yeah, the anointed king or the anointed priest.
No, if you look at just the word
Anointed
Messiah.
for something.
Yeah, okay. What I am saying is it merely means that one who is anointed. Now, I don't have a problem with that. The issue here is why, according to you, he died. Your belief is he had to die for the sins of humanity. I am saying to you, wait a minute.
No, my belief
If
is he had to die to establish that he was the Messiah.
Oh, so it
Also-
wasn't to do with sin.
Yes, that also means that sin is under him. He has the higher authority.
So logically speaking,
So-
you are saying,
You focus on a part of it.
yeah.
But I'm saying the bigger
No problem.
picture, he's
Yeah.
the Messiah.
Right. Here, I don't have a problem with him being the Messiah. But let me ask you a question. For him being the Messiah, can he not live?
So does the Messiah have to die? Is that what you mean?
No, I'm asking you a simple question. If he was the Messiah, does that mean he can't live?
That means he is alive. He lives.
He lives. Does he need to die?
Part of being the Messiah is
Yeah.
David was promised a son who would
Right.
rule on his throne forever, which means he
Right.
has to live forever.
Yeah.
And Jesus
yes.
fits that description.
Now,
he is alive.
I would suggest to you,
So
you know what?
he's
Yeah, I see what you mean. But your belief perspective is not being supported by the evidence in the Bible. What I'm suggesting.
I would think it is.
No
That's where I
problem.
get it
That's
from.
not a problem. If you can quote me a specific verse which you think supports it, I don't have a problem.
It's
But-
all
The
over.
evidence he didn't die.
You got the point. Yeah, I am saying, look, if the reason for death is removed, then the whole picture changes. Yeah, I am saying to you, sister, and I was saying that to the brother, when Christ asked to be saved from death, I am saying the Creator accepted his prayer. Where do I say it? In John 11:41, when he said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me. Now, post alleged crucifixion, there's a common verse that we use with our Christian friends. In Hebrews chapter 5 verse 7, this is what it says. Who in the days of his flesh offered up prayers and supplications to him that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared. What does that mean? That is what it says.
No.
If I can just finish. If I can just finish.
What it means.
You are going to interpret it, aren't you?
You said, what does it mean?
No problem.
What it means, he died
Yeah.
and God raised him from the dead. Yes, that's what it means.
Brother, I can agree with that, but it's saying
So, yes,
he asked to
God-
be saved and he was heard.
So God did hear him, but not the way you wanted.
The context
He
is
heard
talking about the
him
prayer.
by dying first and then living again.
Brother, I can agree with you. You know, with that important point you made, not the way you wanted it. I'm actually agreeing with you. But what you are missing is the evidence is clearly showing he left it to the Creator to save him, and the Creator says, that's my job now, leave it to me.
Yeah.
He did it. And how am I saying this? Because now, post alleged crucifixion, we are told in Hebrews, who in the days of his flesh, when he was alive.
I just want to say
Sure,
just
sure.
one thing.
Sure.
Because I'm not a pastor, I'm not a theologian.
No am I.
No, you know,
I'm
not
a
into Bible
normal guy
scholars
like
or
you.
anything,
No
like,
worries,
really.
no worries, no worries.
But just one thing.
Yeah.
In history, we have records about this event in the past.
Yes.
Like not only the Bible.
True.
We have like
True.
historians who they didn't
Yeah.
believe in God, and
Yeah.
they were living in that time in history, and they wrote about it.
Yeah.
They saw Jesus. They saw what happened,
Yeah.
and then they know. And there is evidence. There is actually, whatever it is.
Josephus
Yeah.
and Tacitus.
Yes.
Evidence.
And then they saw
Yes.
what happened.
Right, okay.
They actually
Well,
they
yeah.
describe how it happened.
Yeah.
And then it is said
Yeah.
that he actually died.
Yeah.
And it's impossible, like the kind of death,
Yeah.
crucifixion, is something that it's impossible to survive. It's so severe. It's like
Yes.
they know he was there was a tomb.
Yeah.
He was put in a tomb.
Yes.
And then even the Jews, the people
Yeah.
who were like not accepting Jesus as a Messiah, they said the tomb is empty.
Yes.
And what they actually used to say to justify that the tomb was empty is like, you Christians, you stole the body.
Yeah.
So if the body is not here, it means there was a body.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, and it's not in the Bible. This is not written in the Bible. This
Yeah.
is written in secular history. So
No, I can understand, and you know, I see your point, sister. But you see, I'll ask you this. You know, when you talk about secular historians, none of them were present when this alleged incident occurred. If I can just finish, brother, yeah? It is a collection of information, yeah? That is what history is, yeah? A collection of information of alleged events that took place. There's no problem with that. What I am saying is, okay, let's have an assessment of the evidence now and look at it from the information we do possess. So, as an example, you know, when we talk about, is there, if I can just, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. So what
all the evidence shows that Jesus died. But
well, the
because
evidence I have
the only
quoted, you
reason-
haven't responded to
the only
yet
reason-
definitively.
The only reason you doubt is,
Yeah.
is because the Quran 600 years later stated he didn't die.
I haven't
Everything
quoted.
before.
Actually, if I can come,
No,
brother,
but I
if
know
I
where
can
it
come
comes
back,
from.
sister,
I know where it
do you know,
comes from.
as an example,
I would say
sorry, brother,
all
if
the
I can just
evidence-
finish and then I'll come back.
all
You
the
see,
evidence
I'll tell
shows
you what,
he died.
you see, Jesus Christ himself, if he alluded to the fact that he was not going to die, would you accept?
sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah, if according to the Bible, Jesus Christ suggested, would you believe it?
He didn't ask to be saved from the situation.
Okay.
The reason is he was fully God and fully man. So if he was fully man, he suffered as we suffer. He knows what we feel.
Yeah.
So the level of suffering he was going through was so intense, so severe. If he wasn't a man,
Yeah.
he wouldn't.
Survive.
Yeah, I mean.
But he didn't survive.
He didn't. But what I'm saying is, like, it's impossible to be a man, to be in a flesh, in a body.
I see what you
and
mean,
not
yes,
in
sister, I
just
see.
don't open your mind
I-
to your mouth to
yeah.
say something like that. So that's why he said. But he then said, that God would do whatever He wanted.
I
to
can
do,
understand
and
what
He
you are
did,
saying,
and there was
sister.
problems.
I can understand. If I believe it that way, what I am saying is, look, for 1 minute, just try and remove what you believe and look at the evidence. So, as an example, I said, if Jesus suggested it, would you accept it? Now, I would say, okay, let's have a look at what he
Did
says.
he suggest that?
He said, he's asked, yeah? He's asked, okay, Master, can you give us a sign? Yeah? And this is the Gospel of Matthew chapter 12 verse 38. He says, Master, give us a sign. Christ responds to them, a wicked and adulterous generation seeks a sign. They shall not be given any sign but one, the sign of Jonah. For as he was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the whale, so shall the Son of Man be in the belly of the earth. Now, it's an odd question this, yeah? Are you familiar with Jonah and the whale story?
Are you?
Let me
get it. We just discussed it.
Excellent.
Is he arguing that Jesus didn't?
No, he's not. No.
Did it suggest he died?
Well,
have
just
so many-
rescuing you.
No, we've got. You can reference all of this where Jesus is saying he's going to die.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, excellent.
No, that's why you need to. That's the sign of Jonah.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Are you?
Yes, I am.
So what does it say?
Right.
What does it say? Where is Jonah?
I'm telling you, if he's in the belly of the fish, okay?
Belly, no.
Here.
The belly of the fish is
Yeah.
in. Hold on. The belly of
I'll
the
come
fish.
back to you.
The belly
Yeah.
of the fish is
Yeah.
in Hollywood. But he says, out of the belly of Sheol I cried, and you heard my voice.
Yeah, and where is
Sheol?
Sheol? Where is Sheol?
What is that?
Historically, where is Sheol?
Tell me.
Do you know?
Tell
You
me.
don't know, do you?
I do.
Okay,
I
I'll
do.
come back to
I
you.
want to know
If we go back to this,
sorry.
yeah?
I need to go actually.
Oh, do you?
We'll
A
carry
pleasure
on.
meeting you. Yeah, we'll be
carry
going
on.
as well.
Yeah.
A pleasure meeting you. Forgive.
Every Sunday.
No, I'll be back just a week before. Yeah, in 3 weeks.
Right. I'll
Come
be
back.
Here again.
Yeah, sorry.
My name is Shabir. Shabir.
Shabir,
Yeah.
Erica.
Nice meeting you. I will see you hopefully, God willing. Okay. You can do a bit of research on it. Okay. Sorry, who's this?